and this is where I have been educated. I have professional people who've taught me a lot, including police officers, about this very nasty subject. But if you like sweets, where would you like to work? It's a sweetie shop. So wherever we have children, and particularly vulnerable children, we can expect to see that that is the place where the paedophiles are going to focus their attention. And if we now have, as we do, secret family courts, which are taking children, and in many of the cases, the children, once they're removed from the parents, disappear because the parents are not allowed to know where the child is living or under what conditions. That is an absolutely perfect breeding ground to allow the paedophiles to carry out their dirty deeds. And it is absolutely naive for people to say everybody in child services is a dedicated, nice person. That is definitely not true. If we then add another subject, the paedophile needs to groom the child in order to ultimately get their way sexually with the child. What we are now doing by the likes of common purpose and leadership training courses, which are going through the NHS and the soft social services, is to teach people how to use powerful psychological manipulation techniques which can change people's minds, remove objections. So you want somebody to do something, they protest and react in a normal human way with their verbal arguments, and you have been taught to use applied psychology in order to overcome those arguments and objections. So we are now giving paedophiles the psychological tools to groom the children even faster. And that is why about 5 years ago, when I started first talking about common purpose, I told audiences that there were paedophiles within the common purpose networks. And in the last year, 18 months, I've been proved absolutely correct, because as one key example, we had a vicious paedophile called Matthew Byrne, who was on the Merseyside Common Purpose Advisory Board. So he was there mixing with young people through his daytime job, and he was working within a secretive common purpose network, which is going into schools and colleges to recruit people. That is the sweetie shop. So this is a system which has been deliberately created. It hasn't arisen by accident. This is a vicious system which has been created in order to help pull our society apart from the inside.
And not only that, but has probably been created and been a plan in progress for decades, if not possibly centuries.
Yes.
It's possible to trace back some of Common Purpose's links through to the likes of the Fabians and that.
Oh, absolutely. I've got to say, I've only got a couple more minutes.
That's fine, Brian. If you'd like to kind of summarise what you'd like to get across, that's absolutely fine. We've got somebody queued up to just round out the show after you. This has just been absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad that you're able to make it at all, Brian.
Well, what I'd like to say is that I'm here talking. I'm not able to show documents. But if people out there are interested, and I'm going to say you need to be, because your children or your grandchildren are at risk, then please do your own research. Start talking with many of the mums and dads who are online. Start looking into the documentation. Start looking into the newspaper reports of abuse within children's services and social services, and you will start to come across the evidence for yourself. What I predict you will be stunned at is the scale with which this is happening. It's not happening to 10 or 100 children. We're talking to thousands and thousands of children who are being dragged into, as a guy called Jack Frost said, the gulag of the family courts. But please research yourself.
Yeah, Jack Frost came to a bit of an untimely end, did he not?
No.
All right. It was there was a one of the Labour politicians who opted out. Sorry.
No. This is a gentleman who produced an excellent book, which is called Gulag of the Family Court.
Okay. Yeah.
I recommend it.
Okay. All right then, Brian. Okay. Okay. Can I just bring my partner in here for a second? There you go, love.
Brian, you know as well as I do that this has been going on and it's been building and it's reached a kind of crescendo now. There are so many children being taken from their parents. I see it every day at work.
Well, this is right. It's speeding up, and I believe it's speeding up because more and more people are actually starting to see what's happening. So they're now rushing to get the thing closed down completely.
I do agree with that. It does seem to be any reason, any tiny reason that they can use against you to take your child from you, they will, and they are so powerful, and you are nothing. If you are in that situation as a parent, it is impossible for you to fight.
I must add in here the point that Vin made about his acquaintance in Ireland, the woman who was threatened with having her children taken off her by the social services, and she sacked her doctor, told a solicitor, told another solicitor that she'd told the solicitor that she'd sacked her doctors, and then told a third solicitor that. And apparently the social services could not take that child. Yes. Now, I would believe that would need some more research, but I'm sure that Vin will back me up that was the case, and that we are entirely helpless in this, again, that the lawful rebellion aspect may well come to our saviour here, and that we'll use some aspects of that to resist this.
Well, this is absolutely correct. If you say, how do we stop this, the first thing that's got to happen is these corrupt, fraudulent and unlawful family courts have got to be stopped. They are administrative courts. They're not courts of law. They are star chambers. And that is the way that this is going to be stopped. If we have families who are abusing children and there is a need for child services to intervene, of course that must happen. But ultimately, this very, very serious decision of people's children being taken away from them needs to be taken in a properly constituted court where the public, with suitable sensitivity, because they're there viewing intimate family matters, but we need to have the public gaze watching what's happening in these courts. It doesn't mean that the children's name or the parent's name needs to come out, but we need a jury of good, ordinary people providing balances and checks on what's happening in the court. The whole time these courts are secret, we are going to see this corrupt, fraudulent administrative procedure. It's going to continue.
I mean, surely there's a point there as well to direct towards the likes of my partner here, those working in the local government sector who are the authorities that feed into this court system, that resistance must be taken on a personal level, and that if you are being directed to doing something that you instinctively feel is wrong, that even if you cannot stop that thing from happening, that you should do your very best to remove your energy away from driving it in the direction that it's moving.
That is absolutely true. But people also need to do what they feel able to. We know in many cases where good, very good, dedicated, long-term social workers or child services people have attempted to hold their hand up and say something's going on wrong. They've been bullied in a very, very vicious way. So people have got to decide what they can do. It is always good to get friends and colleagues to support you, because the establishment does not like taking on a group of people. But the minimum people can do is, when they see wrongdoing, is quietly go away and blow the whistle.
Right.
You haven't got to.
At that point, Brian, I'd love to intersect here. If we do have any listeners that are in this situation, I'm sure that you've heard my words and you feel my heart. If you are wanting to get any sort of information out there, you can get hold of me. You can Skype me on free-manjack, all lowercase, that's free-manjack, or you can get to me through freemanjack@tpuc.org. I will act with ultimate discretion with any information that you care to give to me, and I will do my utmost to disseminate that information as broadly as humanly possible, as I'm sure that Brian will.
Well, absolutely, with total confidence. I think this is one of the things that we and the other organisations and individuals who are trying to help and trying to get this thing exposed, that if somebody approaches us with information, we will always keep identities confidential if that is what's required, if that's what's asked for. And many people who come to us are initially very frightened of speaking out because the establishment has said to them, don't talk to your family, don't talk to friends, don't talk to the press. And this is all designed to isolate people and make them fearful. So
I know that we disagree on this point, but I would actually extend that invitation not only to those in the local authorities who are responsible for dealing with the caseload of these cases, but also my feeling is that we have to offer some level of amnesty to the actual abusers themselves and recognise their victimhood and recognise that they may be following patterns of behaviour that they see as wrong, that in their hearts they know they should not be doing, but because of the secrecy, because of the closed doors, and perhaps even because of the protection they may be receiving, that they feel incapable of speaking out against what they see as an evil.
Well, I do agree with that, and I can also say that in the early days I found even where you had Common Purpose doing its deeds, and you think these people, but actually the majority of the people that have been sucked into Common Purpose are themselves victims because they don't realise what they've actually been drawn into. So I do agree with you very much. But it is a nasty subject we've been talking about, but boy, we've got to deal with it because children are children, and if our grandchildren or our own children don't have their own lives and can't enjoy their own lives, we do not have a future as a family or a nation. We've got to deal with this.
Yeah, I genuinely believe that paedophilia may well be the greatest ill that is at the root of many of the problems that we see as a society, at the root of much of the alcoholism, the violence, the sexual aggression. It leaves the whole of society fucked up, even if it's only just a few members that are actively pursuing it as a behaviour.
Yes, yeah.
All right, Brian, I understand you're short of time. This has just been absolutely fabulous. I hope you've got across most of the points that you wish to get across. I hope that we haven't lost too much due to the stream collapsing, due to my poor steam-powered computer blowing a gasket. Thank you, Vin, for taking over there. We have got somebody to come back with after 6:30. We'll just run through to 7. Mally's been most kind in allowing us to take his radio show slot for this extra hour. Brian, I'd love to invite you back on to speak at length about this subject. I think it's one that's important. I think it's a subject that we need to push. As you say, there are forces at work here who can only be seen as having evil intent, and that like all cockroaches, the last thing that they want is a bright light shone upon them.
Yeah, absolutely.